And I think that there is over-concern about the cost-effectiveness ratio. The real issue in our health system is whether we have enough MRIs and mammogram machines and experts to administer them to handle the people who could reasonably benefit from them. And I'm convinced that we do. You might have to give an MRI in the middle of the night for $100 or $75 instead of 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it's convenient for the patient at $800 or whatever the cost may be. But with that own experience that I've had, I'm convinced that we ought to err on the side of safety. There's a real problem on the consequences, it seems to me, of this study having been released, discouraging many women from having mammograms. People don't like to go get tests because they're afraid of what the tests may show. And with this tremendous splurge of publicity that women can't benefit from mammograms or don't need mammograms in the 40 to 50 age category, I think that it's going to discourage a lot of women from going to get the mammograms. Just a word or two about the doctor-patient relationship is about as fundamental a relationship as we have in our society, and I think sometimes we don't really focus, or the doctors don't, and lawyers are equally bad, and judges are even worse, about the impact of the statements on the people. When I had my test and somebody told me I had a few weeks to live, pretty important impact. You say women don't need mammograms, pretty hard to get them back on the mammogram trail. My recommendation, thought, and hope that Medicare and Medicaid will cover mammograms for women in their 40s. And if that is done, that will be the strongest national signal about the conclusion of the public policy in the United States on this subject. And we all know that if this test comes out and is accepted as not being indicated for women in their 40s, that the insurance companies won't pay for it and managed care won't pay for it, and then people won't have them available. So I think this is an error which needs to be corrected.
When I saw what the advisory committee for the National Cancer Institute and other organizations did a couple of weeks ago, I was appalled, and I think every woman member of the Senate, I know every woman member of the Senate is equally appalled. And I guess 3 years ago, when we had testimony before a hearing called by Senator Mikulski, we registered that we were absolutely sick about the health care plan that was before us, not requiring mammograms and having mammograms covered before the age of 50. And so this is like a festering sore, frankly. And I think it is time that we speak frankly. I hope we can speak with one voice with the facts. I think that to just recapture a little of the history, up until 1993, the National Cancer Institute did recommend mammograms for women before 50, ages 40 to 49, every 2 years, and then after 50 every year. And then a study came out in Canada that said, I think it wasn't shown to be effective, and they then rescinded the guidelines. Since then, I think other studies have come forward. In 1995, investigators found a 24% lower death rate among women who received mammograms in their 40s. In 1996, Swedish researchers in 2 studies found a 44% and a 36% lower death rate among women who received mammograms in their 40s. Right now, we have a mixed message. Of the 43,900 women estimated to die from breast cancer this year, 10,000 will have breast cancer between the ages of 40 and 49. 10,000 women in this country. I hope that whatever you do, you will help us send a clear, crystal message. We know that more women will be saved if they start having screening for breast cancer before the age of 50. Most states require coverage by insurance companies for mammograms starting at the age of 35. I think what happened with the advisory committee is the worst of all worlds. And what I worry about the most is that now that we have this mixed message from the experts, that insurance companies are going to start saying, now, you know, if we don't have clear scientific evidence from the experts that this needs to be done, then it's no longer in the required category. We should move it to optional with the insurance companies. These are questions that should not be raised with a mixed message. So I'm going to ask those of you who are testifying today to help us get a clear message. Tell us what the risks are. Tell us what the advantages are. And there is no question that the advantages outweigh the risks. Now we have all of these doctors getting together on a panel and saying, well, we are just not going to make a decision. It's not acceptable. I hope that because Senator Specter has held this hearing, that you will clarify what you think we ought to do, and I hope you will work with us in a positive way to have a clear message to the women of this country. But we know we can save 9,500 lives this year if we will stick to the advice that you have given us in the past.
Richard Klausner has been associated with the National Institute of Health since 1979 when he began his research career at the Cancer Institute. In 1995, Dr. Klausner became the 11th director of the NCI.
Weeks ago, a conference was held at the NIH that brought together experts from around the world in all aspects of mammography, as well as an independent consensus panel in order to address the confusing and often contentious issue, the debate that surrounds the question of the age at which a woman should begin regular screening mammography. On behalf of the National Cancer Institute, I had asked for this conference in response to reports of new data, primarily from Sweden, that addressed the great gap in our knowledge concerning the potential benefit of population screening of women aged 40 to 49. And as hoped, the conference successfully stimulated the bringing together of new information and the presentation of new and updated analysis. From a scientific point of view, the value of any screening test used in a healthy population depends upon the incidence of the disease, the mortality associated with that incidence, as well as the performance characteristics, the shortcomings and risks, as you said, of the screening procedure. A woman's risk of breast cancer does not suddenly change at any particular age, but gradually and steadily rises. It is not surprising, therefore, that the value of widespread screening follows a similar pattern of increasing value at increasing age. There is and has been general agreement that there are benefits from regular screening mammography between the ages of 50 and 69. While breast cancer does occur in young women in the 20s and 30s, because of its low incidence in this age group, screening for all women in 20s or 30s has not been considered warranted. So we're left with the issue of the transition of women between the ages of 40 to 49. As a woman enters her 40s, she is moving from a time where regular population screening has not been recommended to one where it is proven to be beneficial. One of the complexities of the question is, when is the line crossed? Is it 40, 42, 44, or 50? Rather than concluding that there is only one right answer to that question, the consensus panel concluded that each woman should make an informed decision in the decade of her 40s that is the right answer for her. Despite some press accounts, I stated at the end of the conference that I agreed with the sentiment of a woman needing the information to make her own decision. But I also stated that I had concern with the balance and tone of the discussion in the panel's draft report. It is my opinion that the draft report of the panel